Hello, my friends, and welcome to your show, the MMA Grandpa Show. I'm your host, Enrique Solorzano, and first of all, I would like to welcome you to the Spanglish Sports World Network on Single TV channel 250. And please remember to download both the Spanglish Sports World and the Single TV apps in their respective app store on iOS and Android devices. Both apps are free. And while you download them, please make sure to rate and leave a comment. Single TV is also available on Google Chromecast and Chromecast TV sticks, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku TV sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. So we have a lot to talk about. So we had an event this Saturday. We had on the main event we had four of the fights went all the way, and we had the one draw. So if you're expecting knockouts, I I bet you must be like on the disappointed side of fans. But yeah, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about UFC Fight Night, Rosenstrike versus Gan results. We're gonna go through the card and what happened, right? On this one, I got it right 4 out of 5 times. So I did pretty good on this one. I'm happy about that. Then we're gonna talk about what's next for Rosenstruck and Gan. Like now, the heavyweight division has shifted, and we had a lot of movements because of last week's event and this last Saturday's event as well. We're gonna talk about pleasing the fans, something that it's hard to do because even though we have seen like great athletes fighting, sometimes the fans aren't pleased, right? And then we're gonna talk about my boy Jon Jones at heavyweight. Okay, so let's start with UFC Fight Night Rosenstrike versus Gan results. So, like I said, we had 5 fights. On this one, one fight was canceled due to one of the fighters testing positive for COVID-19, which was Angela Hill's fight. So we had 5 fights, and even though they went all the way, they were good fights, and some fighters they displayed a, a good amount of improvement. Like for example, the first fight we have that Alex Caseres beats Kevin Krum by unanimous decision on the featherweight division. So, like I said, this fight was a good test for Caceres, and he displayed that his ground game has improved a lot. So at first, Krum he tried to take the fight to the ground, but Caceres he showed really good uh, takedown defense. Right, he Caceres he defended very well. Uh, when they were on the ground, Caceres got the top position and he tried to get the submission during the first and the second round, which he couldn't get. On the third round, they were standing up and they exchanged uh, some uh, some strikes. And Caceres he looked sharp. By the third round, Krum he looked tired and hurt. They took the fight to the ground again. Caceres was on top, and he was doing some ground and pound until the end of the fight. Like I said, this was a very good fight for Caceres. I'm pretty happy because, like I said on the last show, I've been following him since his debut on The Ultimate Fighter. Uh, so he was on the same show as other many fighters, and he he has this persona, right? He used to call himself Bruce Leroy. He's a pretty funny like individual and a fighter. So I'm pretty happy that he got the W on this one. And for this one, I got it right. I pick Caceres, and yeah, let's see what's next for him. Then we have that Pedro Munoz defeats Jimmy Rivera by unanimous decision on the bantamweight division. And wow, what a fight! At first, both fighters they were swinging, especially Rivera. He was swinging hard. Munoz, he was faster and he was countering successfully, and like he showed that he has great reflexes. He was very fast, checking some of the strikes by Rivera, and yeah, like both fighters were throwing, they were mixing up, they were like throwing punches, trying to get a takedown. Rivera he landed a leg kick, which brought Munoz to the ground. Both fighters they look kind of hurt by the third round, uh, but they kept swinging. But Munoz he looked sharper, right? Rivera he landed a very hard shot at the end of the round, but it wasn't enough to give him the W. This one was a great fight by both fighters. They went out. If you like violence and aggressiveness, I guess you. I bet you really enjoyed this fight. And for this one, I got it right. I picked Munoz, and let's see what's next for him. And also, it was a good fight for Rivera. He's a very good fighter, but Munoz was the better man like on Saturday night. Okay, now let's move on to the next fight. Montana de la Rosa and Mayra Bueno Silva get a majority draw on the women's flyweight division. Like I said, most of the fights went all the way. Actually, all of the fights went all the way, but this one was the only one who wasn't who was a draw. And this happened for a reason. So this fight was great as well. Both fighters they start swinging and going at it. De La Rosa she connected a very good knee, while Bueno Silva landed good shots and took De La Rosa to the ground. And during the first round, De La Rosa she was going to get the takedown, but Bueno Silva she grabbed the cage, and because she grabbed the cage, De La Rosa couldn't get the takedown. So that costed her 1 point. The referee had to stop the fight and deducted 1 point from her. So on the second and third round, Bueno Silva she was more aggressive, while De La Rosa she got more takedowns. It was a close fight with a slight advantage for Bueno Silva. I think Bueno Silva she could have won this fight, but because she got 1 point deducted, that's why everything was ended up on a draw. So, like I said, this was a great fight by both fighters. Bueno Silva looked a little bit better than De La Rosa, and she needs to be careful if she wants to avoid this happening to her again. She needs to think about like how to react, right? Because like during the fight, Michael Bisping said that it's really hard trying not to grab the cage, right? So yeah, I think it was mostly like her reflexes, her reaction, right? But yeah, she needs to take care of those small details if she wants to get the W. Because yeah, I think she could have won easily if she could have reacted different to this situation. Okay, so now let's move on to the next fight, which is Magmat and Calif beats Nikita Krillov by unanimous decision on the light heavyweight division. So at the beginning of the round, Krillov landed a great shot and tried to take Ankalaev to the ground, but he couldn't get it. Ankalaev landed some good shots and showed great takedown defense. On the second round, Ankalaev he looked more aggressive, landing more shots and getting the takedown. He got the top position and did great ground and pound. But on the third round, Ankalaev he looked very strong. He was avoiding takedowns and taking the fight to the cage side. Then he took Krillov to the ground and he did some ground and pound. He showed great control, excellent control. Like I said, I think during the first and the second round, he was uh, like trying to find his range, and he looked comfortable. But on the third round, he seemed very comfortable, like he owned the octagon, and that's pretty good because we are seeing a more confident and Calif. Yeah, I think he has great things uh, like on the future, and it's a great contender on the light heavyweight division. Okay, so now let's move on to the main event of the evening. So Cyril Gann defeats Jairzinho Rosenstrike by unanimous decision on the heavyweight division. So this fight was very controversial. Well, because we were expecting fireworks. Why? Because both fighters they are known for being heavy hitters. Gann, he's undefeated, and Rosenstrike he has been destroying opponents in kickboxing for many years. Yeah, I think he has more than 50 bouts in kickboxing. So this fight promised a lot. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't a bad fight. A lot of people are complaining about the main event, but I don't think it was that bad. It was very technical, yes, that's true. So at first, both fighters they were looking for the range. Both were throwing some heavy shots. Gann, he was the one that was throwing like more shots, while Rosenstrike, he seems shy. He was hesitating about pulling the trigger. He was like circling around. Gann, he was trying to hit him, right? He was trying to hit and not get hit, while Rosenstrike he couldn't find his range. Uh, like I said, this some people are calling this fight as a very boring fight, and I think Gan he did what he needed to do, right? Because you are fighting a guy that is known for crazy knockout power. He has more than 50 fights on kickboxing. Obviously, you won't be just standing there, right? So you have to be like move around to to get takedowns, right? To avoid getting punched. So I think that's what Gan did, and he did nothing wrong. He came up with a game plan, and I think he adjusted a bit while the fight was taking place, but it wasn't as boring, right? One of the most boring, if not the most boring fight in heavyweight was Derrick Lewis versus Francis Inganos. He was kind of like the same scenario, two heavy hitters, and both of them they were very afraid of each other. And I think they only threw like around 30 or 40 strikes on the entire fight, or less. It was something. It has a record for being the fight with the least strikes thrown. And another fight that it was kind of boring and in the same situation was Joel Romero versus Israel Adesanya. So both fighters were very afraid of each other and like they didn't engage at all. So I don't think this fight is on the same level as the ones I just mentioned, but it wasn't like the most entertaining fight. But like I said, Gan he did what he needed to do and he got the W. So that's what happened this last Saturday. Okay, so now let's talk about what's next for Rosenstrike and Gan. Okay, so for Gan, he he asked for a shot at the title. I think it's too soon. It's very soon to ask for a shot at the title. And also the heavyweight division is pretty stacked, and there are a lot of guys in the line. So I think he should get one or two fights before getting a shot at the title. I think he should fight Alexander Volkov. Why? Because Volkov is a very experienced fighter as well, and it will be a great challenge for Gan because Volkov is more aggressive. He has been doing pretty good lately, so I think he should get Volkov. Also, Gan he he needs to improve in several things if he wants to play with the big guys in the top five, right? Because there's only like a heavy punching power can take you only as that far, and we saw it with Curtis Blades. He was the contender number two. He cleared the division, then boom, he got hit by Lewis. Now he has to go back to the drawing board, see what he did wrong in order to get a shot at the title. So for Gan, that will be a good test. Alexander Volkov, that I think that's the fight to make. Okay, so how about Rosenstrike? So well, he was in the top five, and obviously this loss will make him fall some spots, and I think he left the top five for sure. So I think he should fight Alistair Overeem. That fight will be a great test for both fighters. First of all, Rosenstrike, he needs to get like this thorn or like a of his side, right? He is not happy about his performance. He wants to give the fans what they want. So that would be a good opportunity to do it against Alistair Overeem. And for Overeem, this fight will be great as well because he will see if he still has what it takes to stay in the UFC for a couple of years. And yeah, I think those are the fights that makes the most sense and the fights to make. So let's see what the UFC have in store for for these guys. Okay, now let's move to another topic, which is pleasing the fans. Okay, so like I said, this fight on Saturday got a lot of people upset. Uh, and like, well, first of all, the main event was a heavyweight match, right? Which normally means knockouts. Both fighters are knockout artists, but the fight was slow paced and went to unanimous decision. Um, like obviously because of this, a lot of fans are not happy. But Gans, like I said, Gans' strategy was the right one. Rosenstruck, he's a very dangerous fighter, and obviously Gan, he wanted to avoid getting punched, right? And some fans they do not like technical fights. They just want to see like knockouts, blood. For example, Demetrius Johnson, he was a great UFC champion, and he is or one of the smartest and most technical fighters ever. Right? He dominated the flyweight division for many years, and a lot of people complained about him. Some people are calling him a boring fighter, that his fights were boring. But I don't think his fights were boring. I think he was like way more talented than the challengers he was facing, right? Until he met Henry Cejudo. That's it. But it wasn't his fault. He was doing his job, right? He was very good at it. So that was the main issue, that he was in another level. Uh, but yeah, some people call him boring. I don't know why what they wanted to see, right? Uh, but yeah, it is hard pleasing the fans. Some some of them they just want to see knockouts. Well, obviously, it is very hard for a fighter to be out there, to be in the octagon, throwing, trying not to get hit by another guy who is like will be more prepared than you. Uh, so yeah, some fights are technical. Like I said, some fights they're very technical, but yeah, I have to give them that. Other fights they are just boring, like Inganos versus Lewis, like I was saying, or Romero versus Adesanya, which was a very I won't say boring, but it was not entertaining, and I don't know what was Romero expecting or what Romero wanted, right? Because like the belt was in the line on the line, and he didn't do anything about it. So let's see, but yeah, it's hard to please the fans. But us as fans, we need to take a look at MMA more deeply. Not because MMA is not just like knockouts and blood, right? It's way more than that. Okay, so now let's wrap up this show by talking about Jon Jones at heavyweight. So, well, first of all, Jon Jones, he is the former UFC light heavyweight champion, and he vacated the title in 2020. He did this because he wants to get the belt at heavyweight. So he has been working out. He has a new diet plan. And after this Saturday's main event, he tweeted, check this out. These boys better get used to pushing the pace. All this standing around ain't gonna fly when daddy comes home. So yeah, he was mocking the main event, obviously, that they were just like running around. They weren't doing anything. And well, it's pretty funny because some days ago he revealed a video of his training saying that he is moving pretty good for being a fat boy. And some fans they didn't like the video. I watched the video, and yeah, like he's hitting some pads, throwing some kicks, and obviously he looks different than when he was a light heavyweight. But yeah, some fans were calling him slow. Some of them were saying that he looked very slow, and it's hard to move to another weight class, and obviously if you move up, it's harder. I remember watching when Conor McGregor moved from featherweight to welterweight in order to fight Nate Diaz. He looked more powerful, but he looked slower, right? So it's not easy, and let's see what happens because well, yeah, moving to heavyweight and trying to get the title against the best heavyweight in history is a very tough test. Uh, so yeah, Jon Jones is what he wants to do is impressive, and if he gets it done, if he wins, he will be the greatest of all time for sure. I have to give him that because yeah, like Stipe Miocic has the record of being the heavyweight with the most wins ever, and like I said in other shows, heavyweight is like anything can happen on this weight class. So you you need to be more than than a great MMA fighter. You need to be lucky, right? To to win as many times as Miocic has done it. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome. That fight can't wait to happen. Okay, my friends. So that will be everything for today. I just want to remind you about UFC 259 Black Hole Weeks versus Adesanya. It's this Saturday, March 6th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We're gonna talk about these fights on Wednesday. And remember to tune in Mondays for results and analysis and Wednesdays for predictions and analysis from 7 to 7:25 p.m. Follow Spanglish Sports World at Spanglish Sports W. Remember, this is a conversation. Let me know what you think at Enrique Drums MX. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. Please check out SpanglishWorld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish Sport World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. I'll see you on the next one. Let's get it on.